I have been living like an Asan Thai village person for 1 month, and here's what I think. Hey everybody, Rick with the Excite channel. In this episode, I want to discuss why I think everyone should live in a northeastern Thai village for 1 month. I came up with this idea for the video while I was out on a long walk the other morning. I was contemplating how my life in the United States was so different than what I have seen while living in that Charoen Sin district of Sakon Nakhon province, which is located in northeast Thailand. Living here for the past 30 days has taught me a lot and made me appreciate Thailand for many reasons and my home in the USA for many other reasons. First, let me give you a little background on the village and the homes where I am staying. Most of the homes are very old, while some are somewhat large and at one time would have been extremely nice. Many are now in pretty poor condition. From what I can see, there's not necessarily as much concern on maintenance and upkeep as we would have in some other countries. Don't misunderstand. These are, or they still are, very nice homes. I don't think this is from a laziness perspective. I think these people work extremely hard just to survive. I think it's more of a priority issue, that there are other things necessary like food on their table and their family. They seem to have the mentality that if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Most of the homes inside have extremely elaborate old woodwork that's carved beautifully and very ornate tile work. They're kept very clean and orderly for the most part. Of course, you always have the bad apples, just like you do in every country where the house is a junk pile. The homes have water, electricity, and sewer, though the power grid is not what I would consider the most reliable, as there are many power outages, especially in the monsoon season, sometimes for days. Most of the homes are 2 stories with an open area downstairs with a roof, similar to what I would consider like a carport back in the States. They build a large wood table and surround it with chairs and have a small grill that sits on the ground they use for cooking and for a morning fire for a little bit of heat till it warms up during the day. There's no heating systems in most of these homes as they just simply don't need it. It doesn't get that cold here. Thai like to spend most of their time outside in this covered porch area. Some have hammocks, some have cooking utensils. It varies home to home. Some sleep outside in the hammock at night. There's no keeping up with the Joneses in the village I'm staying in. Most Thai people prefer to cook all their meals outside. They'll cook a few indoors, but during the time I have been here, it's been very minimal. From my understanding, they don't like the smell of food in the house, the leftover smell, like whenever you cook certain foods, fish, meat, whatever. If you want a private toilet, you're not getting it here. While some are inside, some are outside, but they are all constructed the same. They are block construction with ornate vented blocks around the top section for ventilation. So if you get my drift, there is nothing you do inside that the people on the outside aren't going to know about. And oh yeah, there are those porcelain Asian squatty potties, no seat. Squat, do your duty, and get out of Dodge. The difference is that this type of bathroom concerns from other countries. Thai village people do not give it a second thought. Now, I'm talking about a village house here, so don't get freaked out and not come to Thailand over toilet privacy issues. This is a very different way of living than from living in Bangkok, Phuket, Chonburi, or any of the larger southern districts. These are villages and village people. They've grown up in this lifestyle for centuries and see no need to change. The homes and farms are in most cases passed down through generation to generation. As family acquires land over the centuries, some of the farms have grown quite large. The people will build little shanties on these farms, and when it's rice growing season, many leave their house in the village and stay on the farm and sleep there at night in a hammock so they can get up early and work the next day. In the winter season, they'll come back to the village that's maybe a few miles away and stay in their home. Some live permanently in the small shanties as the land and the shanty is all they have. When a parent passes away, they generally divide up the land they own between the children, and the children do the same with their children, and so on and so forth. The rice fields and ponds are generally surrounded by mango, banana, and coconut trees. It's my understanding from talking with the locals that the water source from the rice fields help keep these trees alive in the summer and winter dry seasons. You better like dogs, chickens, and Thai music and karaoke. It's everywhere, certain times of the year. New Year's happens to be one of those times, and I've been privileged to party like a teenager for a few weeks during this New Year's celebration time. It is starting to calm down some now, and most of the villagers go to bed around 8 or 9 p.m., and then they get up at 5 a.m. when the roosters start crowing. You don't see pampered pets here like you would in other countries. I would say 95% of the people have dogs. They keep their dogs fed, but the dogs stay outside and they wander everywhere. The difference is that I see is these dogs from the time they are puppies are taught not to jump on you, bite you, or take food off of the table. If the dog gets close to the table, they will firmly say, my, which translate in Isan to no, no, and the animal will immediately back off. Since dogs run around outside, they're considered dirty and they're not kept in the house. I've seen one exception so far in this village where I'm at, where a lady has 3 little of those yappy dogs that she keeps in her home. Here goes one for the PETA people out there. You best like the MMA of the village, cockfights. Many raise their fighting birds, and it's a very common sport over here. Small motorcycles are also the major means of transportation. I see a lot of little 100 to 150cc Hondas as a norm. The other thing that is a big one for me that I've seen over here is absolutely zero violence in the village. The village has what is considered a village head, and this man has zero tolerance for this. I'm not sure what he would do, but at a merit-making party, he made it clear on stage over the PA, he wanted everybody to get drunk, have fun, dance, eat, but don't you dare cause trouble and respect each other. And by gosh, that's what we did. The villagers here make their money in several different ways. Some travel to the big cities like Bangkok and they'll work for most of the year. Then they'll come back home to their family farm for a month or so. Many of the people here rice farm. Many have little markets in the front portion of their homes, like I spoke about earlier. They may also cook chicken, fish, snails, bugs, rice, you name it, and then they sell it to the other village people. Some drive around on these little 3-wheeled motorcycles each day announcing what they have to sell off of the cart on a small PA system that's attached to the bike. I've had a considerable amount of the chicken, pork, and sticky rice they sell, and it was cheap and awesome. I did a video earlier on how I'd been eating more yet dropping weight, and I believe this is because this is all fresh food with no preservatives. I feel better in the last 30 days than I've felt in a long time, and I've been dropping weight. One of the men that I met here had a rice husking machine. He'd husk rice for other farmers and not charge them money. Instead, since they could not afford to pay for his service, he'd take X number of kilos of rice based on what he husked and bags for them. Then they could all go sell at the market and all make a profit. Some will sell mangoes, bananas, and coconuts off their property. Some fish in the river or take fish out of their ponds and sell to other villagers. Almost everybody has a garden that supplies them with all their greens like lettuce, pod beans, chili peppers, and other types of garden greens. And of course, all of the chickens running around supply fresh eggs. The only thing that I've been purchasing during my stay here has mainly been some type of meat and fish. Everything else Tia's farm is supplied. Some of the homes will have that little area in the front like the convenience store I'd mentioned, and they'll sell their garden products also and their meat out of that. Most will have a cooler included in that little store with some beer and some type of Thai whiskey for sale. I think everyone should live like this for 30 days. I say this because I think it's bound to help you in a positive manner without a doubt. You'll do this and you might come out of it and say, I'll never go to a Thai village again. How in the world do these people live like this? You'll then go home and appreciate everything you have and or take for granted. your car, your nice house, your cushy job, your fancy dinners and restaurants, and hopefully have a new appreciation for your family. Or you'll go home and see that you don't want any of this nonsense anymore. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses. You don't need the latest and greatest iPhone, car, clothing, or the biggest, nicest house. And you'll appreciate, once again, your family more. You'll minimize and get rid of things that you really don't need. Or you may do like me and seek more of a middle ground. While I now appreciate some of what I have back in the States, I see that I don't really need it or want a lot of it. I can live on little and be extremely self-sufficient and yet happier than I've ever been as I've been chasing the dollar all my life. I still don't care about politics unless they affect me or my loved ones back in the States. I see how silly, selfish, and self-centered people have become, and how many just simply want to argue and be negative, and that's what makes them happy. I no longer see the purpose in a huge house and all the associated costs. I don't need a new car that has a payment so high that it could support me for a month or more in Thailand. So I think I'll end this with a final thought. These Thai people in this village may seem poor to some of us by many different standards. And while this may be true from a monetary standpoint, they're rich from my perspective in many ways that they have enlightened me and taught me to appreciate life more. This is Rick with the Excite channel, signing off. Please like and subscribe, and see you all soon.